Bosses of Reddit, what's the weirdest reason why you had to fire an employee? Wasn't me, but a guy in my class got fired from one of our local stores when he was caught jacking off with an apple that had a hole in it. We called him Applejacks for the rest of the year. I'm ashamed you didn't call him Fapple. Applejacks is pretty good. I would have gone with Johnny Fappleseed. She sent us a text that she was skipping her shift to do cocaine. She then sent us a text immediately afterward that the previous text was meant for someone else and she was resigning. She was thinking, duck it. No way out of this one. Damn, though. Could have shown up for the shift then blamed it on friend's sibling screwing with her phone. Yeah, but then she wouldn't be able to take the day off to do cocaine. When I was 17 I worked at Wendy's and one night one of my co-workers had a really bad asthma attack in the back room. The manager insisted that no one call for an ambulance because the company would be liable. After about 10 minutes of this girl gasping for breath on the floor, I picked her up and took her to the ER where they gave her a shot of something to fix it. When I got back to work they fired me for leaving during my shift. I didn't even fight it, that was the worst job I'd ever had. Should have sued for that one. When I managed a porno theater adult toy store, I had to sit down with an employee and go over surveillance footage of him stealing a pocket pussy and using it to masturbate in my stock room. I then handed him his final check, minus the cost of the damaged product. The most awkward and entertaining termination I ever had to conduct. When I managed a porno theater. That's all I needed to hear. Sister had to fire my aunt. She got her a job at a call center for a cable provider. Aunt decided she didn't want to work for a few days, called in and said her husband died. Sister found out when co-workers were pooling money to send flowers. It did not end well. Uncle never knew he died. That's an awkward Thanksgiving. Yes and no. She is a liar and her children are thieves. They do not really get invited anymore. A teacher at my school was fired for telling her class about her vagina and how beautiful it was. She taught mathematics. Talk about vaginal hubris. He took pictures of another co-worker pooping and posted it on Facebook. The pooper wanted to press charges for sexual harassment. These were guys in their 30s. Sounds like a shitstorm. I was fired from a dog kennel for unknowingly playing with a wolf. She thought I knew it was a wolf and I was being a reckless teenager. Hilarious species mistake aside, what exactly is a ducking wolf doing in a dog kennel? We had a kid that worked at the deli in the supermarket from my hometown who was fired after he ate all the skin off of every rotisserie chicken they had. The skin's the best part of rotisserie chicken, that monster. That's why he did it. Totally worth it. Nobody lists the job at the deli they had in high school on their resume. I witnessed an amazing termination. I work for a staffing agency with two different divisions, one industrial temporary and one more managerial level. I was in the middle of interviewing a guy who had just walked in claiming to have been laid off from a company the industrial temporary side works with. During the interview one of my co-workers from the temporary side walked through and screamed, "Damn it, Ray. We fired you this morning. Get out of the building." Apparently the day before the guy pulled a knife on his boss, and his boss defended himself with a piece of lead pipe. They kept fighting and ran into the parking lot going at each other until quite a crowd formed. No one was seriously hurt, but you can't just try to knife people in the parking lot. When I asked him why he pulled a knife he said it was because his new boss was acting like he was better than me when I'm twice his age. TLDR, guy pulls a knife on boss, boss strikes back with a lead pipe, gets fired. Guy comes back the next day to try to interview for a job with the same company. Not my story, but when my dad was in charge of HR for this company, he had to fire an employee for asking another employee if she shaved her pussy. Apparently, the female employee was sitting in the break room when the man just sauntered in there, sat next to her for a minute or so, and then popped the question. When their supervisor came to report it to him, my dad almost fell out of his chair laughing. This is why I hate clothes. Just show me what you're hiding under there. I worked at a Sonic in high school. I was promoted to night manager. First thing my boss had me do was call my grandparents to fire them. "Grandpa, I have to fire you and grandma." His reply, "I love you and I understand why this is happening. Tell your cocksucker of a boss that I'll be into work tomorrow and he can fire me himself. First time I ever heard him cuss. What the duck kind of man makes a kid fire his grandparents? A ducking pussy. An ungodly amount of porn. Like enough porn to make a Redditor blush. His computer crashed, so he took it to our people and the hidden porn mountain was discovered. And it turned out that he was watching it at work, which I still have no idea how it was possible since we have open cubicles where you can easily see everyone's workstation. It's a shame because he was good at his job and a super nice guy to boot. On top of it all, his wife left him shortly thereafter. At least he had the porn, I guess. I wasn't a boss at the time but I had a coworker that decided to leave work on the clock to pick up his friend. About an hour goes by and the store gets a call. It was my coworker. He had to explain to management that he was in the back of a cop car for drag racing. The funny part is management had no idea he had left. I had a new employee I had trained for about a week straight. We'll call him Bob. His first day came around and it's time for his shift. No Bob. I tried to call Bob, no answer. 30 minutes later still no Bob. Finally an hour and a half later he calls the shop. His excuse: my mom wanted to take me shopping and said you would understand. I'll be there in 30 minutes. My retort: oh no rush, turn in your apron and name badge whenever. Click. I'm gonna sound like whiny twat, but he farted on me and called me a tar baby. Edit: I'm white. Fired a girl for hiding in a walk-in cooler and eating candy right out of the box with bare hands. Managed a DQ. I walked in, caught her with her hands literally in the cookie jar, and she still tried to deny it. Gotta love fast food. My wife had to fire a Guitar Center employee because he came to work late. His excuse? He was wired all night from smoking catnip. He wanted to feel what cats feel. He didn't exactly get fired, more like not hired. We pick up people from the Goodwill Helping Hands program, a program that finds work for those who otherwise have a hard time getting work. They are paid by Goodwill for I believe 2 months and then the place they're at decides if they want to hire them on or not. This has led to a series of hilarious trials, but one guy. He was a older guy, probably around 50. This guy didn't live too far so he walked to work every day. One day, as he tells it, a car scared him by driving by fast and too close to where he was walking. He shut his pants. Instead of going home and changing, or coming into work and using our shower and spare clothes, he took his shutty underwear off and brought them into the kitchen to another employee. He then handed them to said employee and said, "Will you wash this for me, if you don't mind?" He had a lot of other issues going on that ended with him not being hired, but this is my favorite on that list. We had a guy at one of the bases I went to get medically discharged, psych problems, for bouncing an imaginary basketball all the time. And I mean all the time. Sitting in the break room, dribbling it, walking to his vehicle, bouncing it with him. On the computer? Yup. They even had someone spy on him when he was home alone. Sure enough, he was dribbling that imaginary ball. So long story short, he ended up getting medically retired. On his last day, he shot the ball into the trash can and said, "Guess I don't need that anymore." Dude was faking the whole time, for almost 2 years, just to get med boarded and get out. Everyone in the military has heard that urban legend. I was a manager at a Jimmy John's some years ago. At this Jimmy John's we had a mentally handicapped 17-year-old kid who we basically paid to just clean the tables. Nice enough kid, but he had one slight problem. He would sneak away during the shift and masturbate in the bathroom. One night we had some friends of co-workers in to eat and one of them walked in on this kid in action. I know what you are thinking. He was probably bent over the sink, trying to get a quick tug out before anyone noticed his absence. No, he was sitting bare-assed on the floor, going to town on himself like nobody's business with his pants and underwear pulled down and only around one leg. So he freaks out, runs up and tells me, and we all actually have a nice laugh about it. I was probably 20 or 21 at the time and found this quite hilarious. After we had a good laugh about it, I told him we were lucky it was someone our co-workers knew, because he could potentially be in a lot of trouble. He said he understood and promised never to do it again. Fast forward to a week later. It's the lunch shift on a Sunday. We are slammed with deliveries and in-shop customers when I hear a very irate woman yelling, "I need a manager." She explains to me how her 15-year-old son just walked into the bathroom and saw one of our employees naked and masturbating. As if there is any question who it is, I start apologizing profusely. Once the kid got dressed and came out of the bathroom, she saw that he was handicapped. She lightened up quite a bit. I really don't even remember all the things she was yelling at me, but, as you can imagine, she was pretty hot. I gave her $115 worth of gift certificates as well as the home number to the franchise owner since the kid got hired because his parents went to church with the owner. After I got the lady and her kid dealt with, I called the kid's mom and told him he can't work there anymore. She was furious and just told me the locks on the doors must be confusing to him and to teach him how to use them. So I said, why don't you just teach him how to not jack off in public? I mean, let's face it. If I can't jack off on the clock, why should he?